going on there, guys? We back with another one, and tonight I want to talk a little bit about Stephen A. Smith. Now, as you all know, Stephen A. Smith was very critical of Kyrie Irving over the last few years, and he said he would never let up on him. Well, now that he has the No Mercy podcast, he's able to interview guests sometimes that he may wouldn't have on First Take or he wouldn't have on his ESPN radio show as often, right? Well, today, an interview surfaced with Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Very good interview. You should go check that out on Stephen A. Smith's channel, on his personal channel. And in his opening monologue, he was talking about a lot of athletes, or a few athletes that sacrifice certain things by using their voice or tackling issues that could affect your bottom line, you know. And what better time to mention that than when you're about to interview Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, aka Chris Jackson. Great basketball player, was exiled out the league in sort of the prime of his career, you know what I'm saying? And it was inexplicable, but it was just because, you know, he had his own personal views on things, you know, and he did it before it was popular, before you had $200 million as a cushion when you left the league, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say it's easy to do, but it's a lot easier to do now when you already sitting on $400 million. But he did it back then, you know. He was talking about Stephen A. Smith was talking a little bit about Kyrie Irving, and he said that, you know, he still stood on the fact that he felt like it wasn't the wisest thing for him to do, to sit out of games when he's still getting paid to play basketball and all that. But he has kind of changed his tune as far as the way Kyrie Irving was speaking out on other issues, because once upon a time, it didn't seem like he was even acknowledging some of the good and what Kyrie was saying. He was just focused on what the mainstream media wanted him to be focused on. But check out what Stephen A. Smith had to say, and I'll be back with my commentary.
I've been very, very critical of Kyrie Irving because, damn it, show up to work. Tired of you collecting that damn money and you don't show up to play. That was my argument against him last season. I ain't say that about him this season. And yeah, it wasn't the wisest thing in the world for him to put a link to a film that the Jewish community labeled and interpreted as anti-Semitic. No, that was not wise. That was not smart at all. But I will tell you this. From speaking about issues of humanity, to bringing up the WNBA and the need to help them be on chartered jets as opposed to flying commercial like they do and all of this other stuff. Kyrie Irving has tackled an abundance of issues in recent years that most professional athletes wouldn't dare have the courage to do. So in that regard, strictly in that regard, got to give respect where respect is due. But I don't know if there's anybody, and that includes Colin Kaepernick, that we could argue deserves more credit for courage than former NBA player Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. I don't know. Didn't want to stand for the national anthem. Brought hell down upon him. Clearly cost him his career. If you watched him play, you knew he wasn't finished. When he was in college, his name was Chris Jackson. He was an All-American, averaging third.
So yeah, guys, that's what Stephen A. had to say about Kyrie Irving. And it's true, man. Chris Jackson was averaging over 30 a game, man. Dude was like that for real. You know, he's one of the best college players you'll ever see. And he was also an advocate for Kyrie Irving. I remember on Eton Thomas's podcast, he, Craig Hodges, and Eton, they were talking about several of these TV analysts, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, even Stephen A. Smith names came up. So I have to go watch that again after watching Mahmoud Abdul Rauf's interview. But what I will say is it looks like on this podcast, Stephen A. is able to talk about some more topics we'd like to see him talk about and express his true feelings, not his PG feelings. You know, I don't know if is it affiliated with ESPN or is this his own independent thing. I think he's starting to see his value. You know, Stephen A. can make those $10 million a year without ESPN now for sure. He can make that and some. He doesn't, at this point in his career, he don't need to be on the salary. You know what I'm saying? So, but back to the point at hand, Kyrie Irving's also always been like a charitable dude and always cared about giving back to the community. As far as sharing that, film, I think Stephen A. should have not brought that back up. He should have talked about the platform that refuses to take it down, also owned by, so it don't bother them so bad that they won't monetize someone's opinion on it, because they see it as a win-win. You could put a film on our platform talking about us. As long as we getting paid, it don't matter. But we will control what is said and who says it. And so when Stephen A. he goes at Kyrie Irving, man, I thought it was wild for the amount of time that he did. Maybe they could have had a little back and forth, but staying on him constantly for over a year. It's good to see him finally give Kyrie a little bit of love. I know a lot of people gonna say too little, too late. It's popular to be on Kyrie's side now, which I could definitely see your point with that. A lot of times people, whenever something's very controversial, they'll wait until the coast is clear to come out and say, "Oh yeah, man, I really like what you did." After they've blazed the trail and everything's been done, you know what I'm saying? And so I know I could understand if people feel like that's what Stephen A is doing. He's trying to get back on the right side, but I think he's really acknowledging here that Kyrie, has done some good things, and he put himself on the line, and it was a good segue leading into his interview with Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. I think he's close with Kyrie Irving too. What I would love to see is Stephen A. Smith interview Stephon Marbury on this platform. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know, man. We're gonna have to see what Stephen A's real intents are, though, by bigging up Kyrie sort of on this podcast. Like, is he really seeing that, sometimes the things he says on TV might be a little out of line, or is he just trying to get back in the good graces with a demographic he feel like it's kind of turning their back on him at times? I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's why we're here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time. Peace.